What's up, brothers and sisters? I'm Drake White. Blast off to the music universe.
This episode of the Music Universe podcast is sponsored by Aroma Retail.
Both Buddy and I own and love their machines. I use their travel-sized diffuser and it fills my whole apartment.
And Matt, their home unit can get your whole house smelling refreshed, and if you have a lot of pets like I do, you definitely need it. With some of your favorite fragrances from resort destinations around the world, there is definitely something for everyone.
Yeah, they have 90 fragrances available for diffusing as room and linen sprays. I know you might like that because the dogs and cats jump on the beds. There's candles and even wax melters. Those are fun.
Head over to aromaretail.com and use code MUSICUNI10 for 10% off your order.
And that is 10 on that 10. MUSICUNI10. Scent your space with Aroma Retail. Well, buddy, as you found out, we can't talk to Drake White for a second without being inspired. I mean, this was just an awesome conversation.
Oh, yeah. He told us so much, and we talked extensively about his onstage hemorrhage that he had with his brain in 2019 that, put him out before the pandemic even existed. And he's back. He's doing everything he can to stay full force and just still performing, recording. We talk about his new album called The Optimistic, which was released in the spring. And just a lot of information. So if you really want to be inspired, this is an interview you must see.
Drake White, welcome to the Music Universe podcast. How are you, sir?
Fantastic. How you guys doing?
We are great.
Wow.
We had a great CMA Fest. How was your CMA Fest?
It was good. It was really good to be back, see the fans all back in Nashville and just see everybody enjoying the music. It was extremely fulfilling for sure.
That's awesome. So I want to tell you that I actually had a chance to see you perform live with Whiskey Meyers.
Oh, cool.
Here in the DC area over at Silver Spring at the Fillmore, their last tour before they went and did all the amphitheaters. So what was it like to be out on the road back after 2 years with COVID and opening for a group like Whiskey Meyers?
It was good. I've always appreciated and felt like I was in that stage, that group of people that was kind of rogue, like Whiskey Meyers, the guys that just went out there and kind of did their own thing and rocked. And I really, appreciate those guys and respect those guys for how they paved their own path. And I think the fans were amazing and they were really receptive to me and the band. It's all good. We had a great time and we got some good fans, but it felt amazing.
That's awesome. And if I remember correctly, and I could be misremembering because it was a couple months ago, but you had a piano with like beautiful artwork on it, if I remember correctly. Am I remembering right? Yeah.
Well, it's an old tapestry from the 60s. I grew up trapping and hunting and fishing with my grandfather and him just teaching me about the outdoors. And he was a preacher and a musician as well. And just that kind of Alabama soul Appalachian swagger is what came from that. So that tapestry is, I like to go to antique stores, and I grew up with a tapestry that's similar to that. And that has a big elk on it, and it's kind of in Colorado is where that setting is. And so it just brings me back to a space of getting, I've always been paid pretty close attention to what the stage felt like and appealing to all the senses, not just hearing, but eyesight, smell, and the other senses that we have out there. We got 5 of them, so why not use them all? And that's just an old tapestry from the 60s that I dug out of a antique store here in Mount Juliet, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Love it.
And you just wrapped your own headlining Optimistic tour with the sold out show in Nashville, and you're about to head across the pond here in August. Tell us about that tour and what it was like, what maybe the crowd difference was like before the pandemic to now. Like, are people just craving it like we're seeing as we're attending shows?
Yeah, I think people are craving it. Just unbelievable palpability in the show, and with the fan to artist interaction. And dude, our shows I've always had love playing live, and I always kind of say that my favorite part of this whole process, it goes in between the songwriting process and performing live. So being able to get out there live, not just after the pandemic. I had a hemorrhagic stroke on stage in 2009 that knocked me out for 8 months prior to the pandemic. So I was nearly 2 years into not being able to play. So to get out there was really, really life-giving and fulfilling. And that's what we wanted to put out there. Hence the Optimistic. It was about keeping optimistic through the mystery of all the bullshit that had happened. I mean, it wasn't bullshit, but it felt like bullshit, to go out and just constantly being hit by all this stuff was something that was really, really tough. But coming out of it, I realized that it was that tumultuous, time that formed this record, that formed my, tougher skin, and it formed the story, made a better book, and made a better live show. So to get out there and do it was emotional and really, really life-giving and just energetic. We had a freaking blast.
And I remember you talking about the stroke and learning to walk again, and your incredible journey. And thank you for sharing that, truly. I was surprised to learn that somebody of your age, of my age, could suffer a stroke like that.
Yeah. Well, that is the stroke was caused by what's called an AVM. It's an arteriovenous malformation, and it's water, veins and arteries that was in the inside of my brain, right here in the right behind my ear. And
wow.
It was, and that is the mobile cortex of your left side. That's the part of your brain that controls your left side. And that water, veins and arteries, I was born with it. So I concocted a bad headache that landed me in an MRI that the MRI was showed a mass in my brain. So we thought it was, good Lord, it could be cancer, it could have been anything. So it was a really tough diagnosis, and we were 1 in 17,000 to be diagnosed with an AVM, and we were like 1 in a couple of million that where that AVM was in my brain. So it was something that was really, really rare, and we were taking care of it, and we were also playing music. And so I would go get a brain surgery on Monday, recover Tuesday and Wednesday, and then I'd be on the road on Thursday. And that's what we were doing in 2019. And the stroke was caused by that AVM rupturing and causing a brain bleed. So it wasn't a hemorrhagic stroke like a 65-year-old guy or girl having a hemorrhagic stroke. It was caused by that AVM. I was in good shape. I felt really good. It's just something that was meant to happen, and there was a very, very low chance of it happening, like 2 or 3%.
Wow.
And it happened, so I had to accept that. And like you said, learn how to walk. But it produced music. It produced friends. It produced a faith that, you can't really stop us now. People say the music industry is hard, but the music industry is not hard when you go through learning how to walk again at 36. That's hard. It's all perspective. And so it just gave me a greater empathy for people, for the power of prayer and the miracle of medicine. and all that good stuff. I know that that was a lot of rapid information, but
Appreciate it. No, I'm glad you went into that detail. It's it's inspiring, and I'm glad you've used that artistically as well to share your story and to, I assume, help heal yourself emotionally and process it. It's incredible what you've been through.
well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it has, you said emotionally, it has given me a passion for mental health. You know, that's
Mhm.
a very, very hot topic right now. And
Yeah,
it's something that needs to be addressed and needs to be, because that is, you know, whether these, I don't want to bring up, you know, bad, you know, with the shootings and all that stuff, like that is a mental problem. That's a
right.
mental problem. And if we can take care of that and pay attention to that, there's just so much buzz out there. There's so many things that we're being pulled in all these different directions. And if we can focus in on how great life is and how peaceful it is when you're in community and when you have good health and exercise and good food and good water and all of that stuff, then it's a full circle. And so it's ignited a fire for sure for me, to have a bigger purpose than just going out there and selling records and you know, streaming music.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Optimistic being the your second studio album released in March, would you, obviously that was inspired by your journey, like you said, would you consider that a concept album by any means?
No, no, I don't think it's a concept album. I mean, I guess everybody's definitions of concept would be different. But for me, I had a couple of songs. I'd been in the machine of Nashville for a while and enjoyed that success. And I'm still in that, you know, I'm still part of that and still very, very much pushing forward. But it was where commerce meets art is sometimes a slippery slope, and getting music out for me. I'm 38 years old. You know, I wanted to get more music out a long time ago. And so I just went in and told my management, I said, I'm making a record and releasing it. And we played 80 weeks in my barn during the pandemic when nobody was playing or
Wow.
nobody touring. And through those 80 weeks of live, you know, putting it on, you know, just a live feed, we played these songs that I wrote. I would write during the day and then go out and play at night. And it was such a different way to make a record when you're playing music to, you know, a couple of thousand fans on a Wednesday night in your barn, virtually, and
Mhm.
they're commenting on the comments like, oh, I love this one. So you can feel it, you know, with Hurts to Healing being the heart of the record, because that was the turning point of everything. I've always been an optimistic dude, but I went through this tumultuous time and I came out the other side and I embraced the grizzly bear is what I call it. I embraced the attack that happened to my nervous system. I embraced, you know, the people around me. I embraced paralysis. Hell, I did a TED talk about it.
Mhm.
And I think being open and being vulnerable was one of the most life-giving, scariest, craziest things that I've ever done. And for me, it's my story. And I believe it's made one of the best books, you know, in music in Nashville. And I'm in the process of writing that book, and I'll never quit.
I love it.
Wonderful.
And it's really incredible to see you being vulnerable, because I think that's what country music is really all about. It's not just the storytelling, but the authentic storytelling and writing what you know. And what you know is something that we hope to God nobody ever has to experience, but you did, and you're using it in such a special way.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And when you were saying all that, it gave me chills. So it speaks to everybody, whether you've been through it or not, for sure.
Mhm. Checking my notes here. I want to talk about this this endeavor you have with your wife, this project that you and her are working on. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So Alex, my wife is I call her a chef. She learned how to cook really, really well with her grandmother, and she uses cooking as a anxiety relief. I mean, she loves to cook that much where she'll get in the kitchen and make, just anything. I mean, it's really, we grew up in Alabama. We grew up around wildlife and grills and fish, and her grandmother taught her how to cook that stuff and how to grow tomatoes and how to grow peppers and cut them up and can them. And it is a 50 years too late type of mentality. And so she's always loved to host people, and she's really good at it. And I've always loved to build. So I was building a barn, a gathering spot, basically building a barn to put all my boats and my old Bronco and stuff in, and it turned into an event space we call Whitewood Hollow. And she started a company during the pandemic called Milk and Honey Food Company. And we're talking, my wife used to be a kindergarten teacher, and so she came out of that and started cooking, but with the pushing from me going, hey, what makes you tick? What makes you excited to get up in the morning? Because teaching was such a awesome, valiant thing that she was doing, but it wasn't fulfilling her. It wasn't, it was draining her out. And so I think I asked her that question one day, and she said, well, I love to cook and serve people. So we built this barn out of red oak, and it's just this awesome place that served us during the pandemic with our Wednesday night therapies in our barn every Wednesday. And now it's got a commercial kitchen in it, and we've had a couple of weddings in it. And Alex is rocking. She's building this company called The Company We Keep, that encourages scintillating conversation and encourages people to get off their damn phones and actually look at each other and feel and share what the camaraderie does. That's what the pandemic stripped. It stripped us of our confidence, that we were no longer able to go in and actually conversate with people, except for this small group that we were quarantined with, and it was hard. And we buried my grandfather, we buried my grandmother, we buried uncles and aunts and soldiers and heroes, and it sucked. But it's about getting back together in a barn or in a church or in a whatever, and cooking a bunch of great food and sitting around and saying, hey man, I went through a stroke. What'd you go through? And then conversating about that and saying, you're not alone. You're not alone in this. You're not alone in this. And guess what? I can play music too. So let's build a fire and play music while we're all eating. So that's our goal. That is our mission, is to love on people, to love society, no matter where you come, no matter color your skin, nothing. Great, gay, straight, left, right, it doesn't matter. Come in, we'll love on you. We'll cook, we'll play music. And so that's the spirit behind it.
I love it.
And where can people rent that out? Where can they go to rent that out if they have an event?
It's what you can look at whitewoodhollow.com or Whitewood Hollow on Instagram and just check it out. But yeah, it's my wife, Alex, that runs that. And yeah, it's absolutely amazing, dude.
That's awesome. Well, you're amazing. Drake White, this has been an honor. Thank you very much for your time. Wish you the best of luck on those European dates, and can't wait to see you again here in the States too.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Come out anytime. I appreciate y'all talking to me.
Such a good interview, and such an honor to talk to somebody who's been through so much. And as you heard right there, he was going through procedures to fix that vein issue in his brain. And that's when it happened. It didn't just happen out of nowhere. And it didn't happen to where it happened, and then they found the issue. They knew about it from birth, which I'm very well aware of having my own medical issues from birth, that, there's risks. Actually, I don't think I've ever said this publicly, but we believe the reason I have cerebral palsy is not because I was born with it, but because the issue with my heart was, and I was so tiny, they nicked a nerve and it cut off my oxygen for half a second or half a millisecond, and it gave me cerebral palsy. So I'm very much well aware of, you go in to fix something and there's a tiny percentage chance of a risk.
Right.
And then it happens and you deal with it. And to me, he's such an inspiration, really.
Oh, he totally is. And his situation reminds me of when Bret Michaels had that like a decade ago, but I believe Bret's was not known at the time. It just happened out of nowhere.
Just happened, and had he not been found or been able to crawl to get help like he was, he wouldn't be here anymore.
And he made a full recovery too. So Drake's got some great songs, and I know you saw him live, as you mentioned, and I'm hoping to catch him if I haven't already by the time this episode airs. But a real nice guy too. I mean, he's inspirational, and I think that you need those people out there, because that is what's going to keep us moving. Like he said, through the pandemic, we've learned to isolate ourselves, and now we're clamoring,
coming back together,
people and slapping people in person when you make a stupid comment, Matt.
Well, for the Music Universe podcast, I'm Matt.
And I'm Buddy. Thanks for listening and watching, and be sure to check us out at themusicuniverse.com for the latest news and mostly Matt's concert reviews. And hit like, subscribe, and share at the Music Uni on social media, and tmupod.com for more.
I'll probably be at 40 shows this year by the time this airs. So yes, we'll see you next time.
This episode of the Music Universe podcast is sponsored by Aroma Retail.
Both Buddy and I own and love their machines. I use their travel-sized diffuser, and it fills my whole apartment.
And Matt, their home unit can get your whole house smelling refreshed. And if you have a lot of pets like I do, you definitely need it. With some of your favorite fragrances from resort destinations around the world, there is definitely something for everyone.
Yeah, they have 90 fragrances available for diffusing as room and linen sprays. I know you might like that because the dogs and cats jump on the beds. There's candles and even wax melters. Those are fun.
Head over to aromaretail.com and use code MUSICUNI10 for 10% off your order.
And that is 10 on that 10. MUSICUNI10. Scent your space with Aroma Retail.